Let me tell you all about the time a woman named Marlene tried to turn my peaceful Colorado ranch into her personal HOA playground and nearly ended up on the wrong side of 40 trained guard dogs. Now, before we get into the screaming, fainting, and a whole lot of barking, let me rewind a bit. 4 months ago, after working 2 decades in road construction, I finally bought myself a slice of heaven, 300 acres of open ranchland just outside a tiny town called Elkhorn Ridge. No noise, no traffic, and most importantly, no HOA. That was a dream. Peace, privacy, and not one nosy neighbor telling me what color my fence should be. But it turns out, peace is hard to come by when someone like Marlene lives down the road. Marlene wasn't elected to anything. She wasn't the president of an HOA. Heck, she didn't even own her house. She rented a place in the next subdivision over. But that didn't stop her from acting like she was queen of the valley. She had a clipboard, oversized sunglasses, and a voice that could wake cattle 3 counties away. At first, it was little things. She showed up at my gate, scribbling in her notebook, complaining my wind chimes were too loud or my fence wasn't aesthetically consistent. I tried to be polite. I explained very clearly that my ranch wasn't under any HOA jurisdiction. She didn't like that. See, Marlene had been quietly running the HOA in her neighborhood like it was her private empire. But there was a problem. People were starting to push back. Her authority was slipping. So when I moved in with my non-compliant property and refused to attend her wine and cheese socials, I became public enemy number 1. She wanted to make an example out of me, and she did it the only way she knew how, by pushing boundaries. Literally. One weekend, I spotted a group of teenagers with backpacks crossing my north pasture. When I asked them what they were doing, they said, "Marlene told us we could camp here." Excuse me? Then came the mums and kids. Coolers, lawn chairs, and snacks, all dragging through a gate someone had cut open. Yes, cut. The lock was gone, and the steel gate I'd installed with my own money was left swinging open. I reported it, put up new signs, sent a letter through my lawyer to the HOA clubhouse, making it clear trespassers would be prosecuted. But Marlene doesn't believe in boundaries, especially when they interfere with her power trips. That brings us to last Saturday. It was a beautiful spring day. Clear skies, 70 degrees. I was sipping coffee when I looked out over my southern pasture and nearly dropped my mug. There were 11 cars, 4 RVs, a bounce house, and a full-blown barbecue going on my land. People I didn't know were setting up tents, grilling hot dogs, blasting music, and letting kids run wild through my field like it was a community picnic. And right in the middle of it all, Marlene, wearing a pink visor and barking orders like a county fair manager. When she saw me pull up in my truck, she gave me this fake smile and said, "Oh, good, you're here. We'll clean up afterward. I figured you wouldn't mind, since you've got so much space." She said the HOA's spring campout was too big for the community park, and she'd unofficially voted my land as the new venue. I didn't say a word. I just took out my phone, opened my security app, and pressed one button. 40 dogs, my dogs, emerged from the tree line like a scene straight out of Yellowstone. German Shepherds, Belgian Malinois, Akitas, Pyrenees, trained, disciplined, legal, and very, very serious. The second they charged, it was like the crowd hit fast forward. People screamed, tripped over chairs, dove into tents, scrambled onto truck beds. One poor guy even tried to climb a tree. Marlene dropped her plastic wine glass and shrieked, "Whose dogs are these? Call 911." And then, boom, she fainted, right there on the grass. But here's the thing, not one dog touched anyone. They surrounded, they herded, they trapped. That's what they're trained to do. It looks scary, sure, but nobody was ever in real danger. At least, not from the dogs. As I checked to make sure no one was hurt, I noticed a drone hovering overhead. It had the HOA logo on it, not some kid's toy. This thing had a mounted camera and a broadcast antenna, and it was recording everything from the moment the dogs started running. That's when I realized this wasn't just some bad idea gone worse. This was a setup. Someone had deleted the footage leading up to the dog charge. No record of the trespassing, the gate cutting, or Marlene's little speech about how we'll clean up later. 12 minutes later, Sheriff Danner pulled up with 2 deputies. He's a straight shooter. He knows me. When I explained what happened, he sighed and said, "This smells like a stunt." It was worse than that. 3 hours later, a video hit Facebook titled, "Unhinged, Rancher Unleashes Attack Dogs on Community Campers." It had Marlene's voice narrating in the background. We were peacefully camping with children, and this man released 40 dangerous animals on us. By nightfall, the video had 90,000 views. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Voicemails, reporters, angry strangers threatening me. Marlene had edited out the truth and painted me as a lunatic. And then the HOA dropped a bomb. They filed a motion for an injunction. They wanted a court order to restrict my dog's movement on my own land. I knew I had 2 options, sit back and take it, or fight. I chose the second. With Cheryl, my attorney, and a folder full of security footage, I went public. We held a press conference right on my ranch. No drama, no spin, just raw, unedited truth. We showed video of the trespassers arriving, the gate being cut, Marlene directing the event like a wedding planner, me calmly asking them to leave, and the dogs never attacking, just containing. The story exploded. Local news aired it. Online support flooded in. People turned on the HOA. Even members of the lawsuit started withdrawing their names. And then came the real twist. A whistleblower from inside the HOA emailed Cheryl with documents. Emails, meeting notes, private Zoom calls. The HOA president, Carl Duval, had been working with a shady development company. Their plan, force me to sell my land, rezone it, turn it into a luxury subdivision. The whole campout was bait, a staged incident to paint me as unstable and get the land cheap. I was furious. Cheryl filed a $2.5 million lawsuit for defamation, trespassing, and attempted land fraud. But before the dust could even settle, Marlene made bail, and she called a town hall meeting. She walked in wearing all white, like she was auditioning for sainthood, and declared that my land purchase might be fraudulent. She waved a USB drive and hinted at secret documents. But I came prepared. I stood up, binder in hand, and showed the real documents, emails, drone angles, the cut footage, everything. The room went dead silent. Then it erupted in applause. Carl Duval resigned the next day. The development deal collapsed. Marlene vanished, deleted her Facebook, moved out of town. But I stayed. A few days later, I got a letter in the mail from one of the moms at the Campout. It read, "I didn't know we were trespassing. I believed her. My kids still talk about your dogs. I'm sorry." That's when I knew this wasn't just about land. It was about truth, about standing your ground when people try to twist the story. So if anyone else out there has ever dealt with HOA bullies or had to fight for what's right when the odds were stacked against you, trust me, you're not alone. And next time someone like Marlene thinks about crossing my fence, they'll remember what happened at the Great Spring Campout Massacre. Now tell me, have you ever had a run-in with a power-hungry HOA or a neighbor who thought they ruled the block? Drop your story in the comments. I read everyone. Let's talk about it.